Good day, and welcome to the premiere edition of The League of Biblical Enthusiasts. So, in this channel, we're going to talk about all things biblical, and perhaps that's too broad, and we should narrow it to certain sub-subjects, whatever, but that will be decided later. A little bit about me at the beginning. I'm your host, Philip Murray. What gives me any credentials to talk about the Bible? Well, I have a modest background in biblical studies. I have a Master's of Theology from the Harding School of Theology in Memphis, Tennessee. I majored in New Testament studies under some very good scholars. Some of my primary teachers were Jack P. Lewis, Carol Osborne, New Testament. We'll be talking about a number of different things in our journey together. For example, biblical interpretation. That's so broad, so wide, but there are many verses in the Old Testament and the New Testament that are subject to different ways of interpretation. I'm sure you're quite aware of this. Some of these are behind the splits and divisions between churches today. Some of those are minor, some are major, and make a big difference in your theology. We'll tackle some of those along the way. We'll also talk about the history of the Bible. How did the Bible come to be? A single unified book bound in one volume comprising of the Old Testament or the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament. Where did these 66 books come from? How did they form a single unit? What is the story behind it? It's a long and complex, but a fascinating study, and we'll delve into some of that as well. What about Bible translations? For example, I have before me a book I bought today, Defending the King James Bible. Is the King James Bible the best English translation? How did it come to be? Who were the translators? What was the text behind the King James Version? What gives it its enduring appeal? Is it, even today in 2023, a good study Bible? What about the other versions? The ASV, the RSV, the ESV, and on we could go. We might even talk about, yes, the Cotton Patch Bible. Anyway, we'll talk about those things. A visual history of the King James Bible. This is a great little work here. And we will, in addition to just ongoing discussions, talk about different books relating to biblical studies and how they impact theology, biblical understanding, interpretation, and so forth. We'll talk a little bit about textual criticism along the way. What is the Hebrew and Greek text that lies behind our English Bible? How is it chosen? Where did these texts come from? Did they just drop from heaven one day? And here we have a complete Hebrew manuscript of the Old Testament, and we have a complete volume of Greek text of the New Testament and 27 collected letters and Gospels? Well, of course not, but that story is an interesting one. We will go into that. What about biblical archaeology and how it affects our understanding of the Bible? Does biblical archaeology prove the stories of the Old Testament and the New Testament? What is the purpose of biblical archaeology? Who are biblical archaeologists? From whence do they come? What are their qualifications? What do they actually do? Where do they work? What are their tools? What are their results? Such a fascinating study. There are so many things that we could talk about in biblical archaeology because the truth is, every single week in the land of the Bible, things are being unearthed, discovered, interpreted, and presented to us that impact our understanding of the times in which the characters of the Old Testament and the New Testament lived, that shed light on those days and even help us, in some cases, in our understanding of the scriptures themselves. For example, here is King Herod. You're familiar with him, of course. He was a prolific builder in the ancient world. as a devotee of the emperor, and to please the emperor, he built many different structures, some for his own personal use, some for protection, some for giving honor to the emperor and the gods, others to flatter the Jewish people to himself and endear them to himself, such as the temple, which was 50 years or so in the making, the reconstruction of the temple. He also, and Herod and his engineers, basically out of nothing created a harbor in Caesarea, which still stands today. Of course, it's degraded, but when it was first constructed, it was an amazing architectural and engineering feat of what became to be the city of Caesarea, of course dedicated to the current Caesar. We'll also talk about current and past biblical scholars and their contribution to our understanding of the scriptures. There's just so much we're going to cover. I can't even begin to name it all. These are just a few things. Current controversies in biblical studies. We will talk about those dual and triple initialed biblical scholars. What do I mean? Oh, well, C.H. Dodd, N.T. Wright, F.J.A. Hort, B.F. Westcott. Why do these people all have initials for their first two or three names? So anyway, lots of personalities to talk about, lots of things to discuss. Please let me know what's interesting for you to understand and to study, because we will take those up perhaps and make that an episode. Anyway, if you like what you've seen so far, you may be interested in more. Like, subscribe, let us know how we can make this a really great channel where you will learn, be engaged, be challenged, and I hope encouraged. So anyway, that's it from me. Until next time, bye-bye. Oh, one more thing. I'll leave you, we'll play us out with a little tune I composed a few days ago. I do some composing in my spare time. Hope you enjoy it. It's just a short 2 or 3 minute audio clip. This one's a little funky. Hope you enjoy it. Next time. Bye-bye.